started.
Request Sanjeev ji to start.
Good evening, Namaskar and Pranam to Sadhguru ji, a global thought leader for the mind and the soul, a seeker of truth, a thought leader, an inspiration, a man of ideas, and more importantly, a man of action, because we in the service believe that it's not just ideas, but it's putting those ideas into practice, which is even more important. A great organizer, a trainer, a motivational speaker, and most importantly, one who wants us to interpret our past with a great degree of confidence. His thoughts on our understanding of the Chola Empire, the great achievements and the salience of Vedantic thought are so important and so salient to our understanding about ourselves. Only a nation and a civilization which has pride in its past can be confident about its present and hopeful about the future. We are indeed very honored today that Sadhguru ji will be interacting with the IC and AS Association. Sadhguru ji knows a lot about us because many of us have been training with him. I personally have not been so fortunate, but Balamurgan, my probation, has been with him for a long time. So our president, Mr. C.K. Mishra, would have been here to personally welcome him, but he's been invited by, he's been called by the Prime Minister for an urgent meeting. But the IC and AS Association is one of the oldest civil service organizations. And today, we are very happy, very confident, very proud that ours was the first association to come up in support of the PM Cares Fund. We contributed whatever we could, and we've also, all our members have contributed their time, their effort, and also their earnings to this cause. And most importantly, our association took the lead to establish the Karuna platform, which is the civil services outreach to support the government in times of national emergencies and national disasters. So this is where our colleagues from 22 other service organizations have also come together. The IC and AS Association also has affiliations from all the 30 states and UTs of the country where the IAS officers are working. And we are very privileged that today we'll be interacting with Sadhguru ji, sharing some of our questions, sharing some of our doubts, and seeking his guidance and foresight into how we can tackle the current situation in the country better. So with these few words, let me once again, on behalf of the entire fraternity, extend a very warm welcome to Sadhguru ji and thank the Isha Foundation for giving this opportunity to the IC and AS Association for this interaction.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sanjeev Chopra ji, Senior Vice President of the IC and AS Association, for according a warm welcome to Sadhguru. We will now have a short video played regarding Isha Foundation and Sadhguru ji.
It is started in Tamil Nadu. We want to see that this happens to the whole country. The idea is not necessarily about developing competitive sport, but the important thing is to bring the spirit of sport and revitalizing rural societies.
ईशा आउटरीच को वर्ष 2018 के लिए राष्ट्रीय खेल प्रोत्साहन पुरस्कार से सम्मानित किया जाता है। सद्गुरु जगदीश वासुदेव, संस्थापक ईशा आउटरीच।
Another campaign called Kaveri Calling. These 83,000 square kilometers of Kaveri basin, we want to bring it back, at least 1/3 of it, back into some kind of green.
ಪರಿಸರ ರಕ್ಷಣೆಯ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಸಂಪೂರ್ಣ ಸಹಕಾರವನ್ನು ನೀಡೋದಿದೆ.
சத்குருஜி அவர்கள் எடுக்கின்ற முயற்சிக்கு எங்களுடைய அரசு துணை நிற்கும்.
We are launching a campaign called Youth and Truth in the month of September. Youth and Truth, unplug with Sadhguru, ask whatever you want.
I want to know the truth about ambition.
Technology.
Why do we have to wear a tie or a proper dress code in our placement?
What is the meaning of competition both for individuals and society?
For every one of you, your life is precious, isn't it? This precious life, where are you going to invest it? What is it that will be worthwhile today and worthwhile after 50 years for me to invest myself into? You invest your life into that. This will be a life of fulfillment.
He has a different swag. He's kind of Buddha to us. Sadhguru has become this new friend of youth.
One important thing about Fashion for Peace is shifting back to natural fiber as much as possible. The way we dress is destroying the world. Textile has become the third largest polluter on the planet. The polyfiber, it has entered our bodies, it's entered our water, soil, our food cycle. This is not just about fashion, this is going to make millions of people's lives. Namaskaram, namaskaram to all of you.
His blessings and extend his thoughts to all of us.
Namaskaram, namaskaram to all of you.
Namaskaram, Sadhguru.
Oh, Bala okay.
May we request you to please initiate the dialogue, sir?
Looks like all of you are reluctant, so let me say something Well, in my understanding of things, please tell me if I'm wrong. Well, like in our very body, there are many vital parts, many vital organs. We have a functioning brain and the heart has to beat. But we have a skeletal system and we have a spine. In many ways, we have a form. The human form is manageable only because we have a spine. The spine collapses, we really won't have a human form, we'll lose it. In my understanding, the administrative services, what we are now calling as IAS, in a way is the spine of the nation. It may not be the beating heart, but it's the spine of the nation, without which this nation will not have a form. So the spine has to be strong and straight, very important. In yoga, it is always said, a bent spine is an invitation to diseases or ailments. Once your spine is bent, you will invite all kinds of trouble. So, spine being strong and straight becomes very, very important. I'm using the word spine both literally and also metaphorically So having a strong spine is most important for the nation. And well, the services have done many wonderful things for this country, but it is important with the new generation of officers coming up to instill them with the necessary commitment, to instill them with the necessary long-term vision, because in many ways, we are at a crucial time in the history of this nation. What we do in the next 5 years' time, I think is going to determine what is going to happen to us in the coming century. And next couple of generations' future, we are deciding in the next 5 to 8 years' time, I would say. That's how I see it. Having said that, your role in making this happen is very, very crucial, because without the spine standing up, heart beating strong, brain working wonderfully will not get us anywhere. So, my congratulations and best wishes to all of you. So please if you can start with your questions.
Yes, thank you very much, Sadhguruji. It was very reassuring for us to know that you regard us as the spine of the country, and that you also believe that we have the strength, the courage, and the conviction to take this country forward. Sadhguruji, the IAS adopted the lodestar or the emblem Yoga Karma Sukoshalam in the year 1969. Since that time, this has been the inspiration for all of us. And I thought it'll be very nice to open this discussion by asking you to explain the context and the literal meaning of Yoga Karma Sukoshalam, both in the way Krishna was explaining to Arjuna, and also in the context of current times, how as IAS officers we can adopt this, not just in letter, but also in spirit, and if I could add, in letter, spirit, and action. So we'd like to have your views on this opening. We'd like you to open your conversation with this, Sadhguruji.
I must admit that I'm quite illiterate and I'm not a scholar of any kind, but I think this is a very obvious statement, so I can take the liberty of saying something about it. Well, the word yoga, let's understand this. The word yoga does not mean twisting and turning. The word yoga does not mean a certain type of practice. The word yoga means union. Union means, right now, there are two entities in the world, you and the universe. A whole lot of people make this sense of myself so strong, they become me versus the universe. Me versus universe is a very silly competition to get into. That is not the kind of competition anybody should get into, but most human beings are on this. Why human beings are going through daily anxiety, suffering, tension, stress is because it's me versus the rest of the world. Me versus the world is not a good place to be. So yoga means union. That means in some way in your experience, you are the world or the world is you. You don't see my individuality as a concretized absolute. My individuality is only a functional tool. It is not an absolute thing. It is something that we have made up. So if you do not take your individual nature too seriously, you are naturally in yoga, in your experience, everything merges. When you're inclusive, yoga means union. Union is only possible when you're inclusive in nature. If you're absolutely inclusive and then you act, the best will come out of you, there's no question about it. Right now, this is what is missing with most human beings. They are exclusive. Every advertisement in the world, all effort, our modern education is always trying to make human beings exclusive. The pride of being exclusive. Exclusive means you're left out, that's what it means. Well, people may be very proud of it, but actually it means you're really super exclusive, means you left out of the universe. That's what it means. Yoga means you're included. You have consciously included everything and everybody as a part of yourself. From this, if you act, you will definitely do the best in you in terms of your intelligence, your competence, and your ability to see things, your insight, everything will be at its best if you're absolutely inclusive. So, establish yourself in yoga, then act. Don't you worry about your competence, the best in you will naturally come out.
Thank you very much, Sadhguruji. I'll now be requesting Milind, Dr. Milind Ramtek, who's from Tripura. He's actually sitting in Agartala now. May I request you, Milind, to raise your issues, raise your question with.
Good evening, Sadhguruji.
No virus in Tripura, I think.
No, sir. Right now it's not there. So it's my great privilege to speak to you, sir. Sir, every one of us want our country to progress faster and to become a developed nation in near future. We all the civil servants across the length and breadth of this country are working hard along with other stakeholders with utmost devotion to achieve this goal. Sir, in the wake of this fast-changing global situation, ever-growing public expectations, and sudden emerging challenges like COVID-19, how to keep up the moral, motivation, and enthusiasm of all the civil servants so as to ensure rapid socio-economic progress of our nation within the ambit of constitutional and legal mandate.
Well, the basic motto of your service itself takes care of that. Yoga karmasyu kausalyam, that's all. Because we can't fix everything in the world. The only thing we can do is, we have done our best. In any given position, we've always done our best. This is all a human being can do. A human being is not going to fix everything in the universe. But in our lives, if we do not do what we cannot do, there is no problem. But in our lives, if we do not do what we can do, we are a disastrous life. As long as we are not such a disaster that even what we can do, we will not do because of our attitudes, our positions, our philosophies, our ideologies, our prejudices, we do not do what we can do, that is a disastrous life. But everything that we can do, we will do. What we cannot do, what to do? That's how life is. There is no such human being in this world who will do everything. No, we will do everything that is possible for us to do. What we cannot do, we do not do. So our prejudice, our identity, our discrimination, these things, or our own anger, our emotion, our frustration will not cripple us from doing things that we could have done. If you're angry, if you're tense, if you're frustrated, or you're very discriminatory about people, then you will not even do what you can do. That disaster must not happen. If all of us strive to do everything that we can do, what we cannot do is always there. That's all right.
Thank you very much, Sadhguruji. I think it's a very important message for all of us that our attitude has to be positive, it has to be a can-do attitude, and obviously what we cannot do, we have to accept the fact that everything cannot be done by us, but what we can do, we must do. May I request Bala Murugan? Bala actually connects the association and Isha Foundation because he has been working directly and actively with Sadhguruji. Sadhguruji, I'm also very happy to tell you that I have trained him in 1994. Over to you, Bala Murugan.
Well, you did a good job on him.
What a compliment, I'm honored.
Namaskaram, Sadhguru.
Namaskaram.
My question is actually a dilemma that we face in the service, Sadhguru. And it goes like this. Democracy in our country is still evolving. While in a few states it is mature, and in many other regions it is still immature and dominated by feudal values, where it works better for people with power and reach and does not work for the poor and underprivileged. There is always a gap between many of our laws, policies, and programs and the aspirations of the people. There is definitely a huge gap between the stated law, policies, and their implementation on the ground. There are many agonizing situations when we want to help someone, but rules don't permit. Any deviation from the law, rules, and procedures invites trouble for the officers and even their families. This fear prevents us from being proactively committed to the ideals. Should we work to strictly uphold the law, rules, and regulations? In Hindi, it is called, lakir ka fakir, that is a person who rigidly walks the straight line. Or do we act on humanitarian considerations, taking the risks along? My question is, Sadhguru, what is more important, upholding the law at any cost or acting on humanitarian considerations? How do we deal with such situations?
Bala, you packed two questions in one. One aspect is about the maturity of our democracy, where still it is a feudalistic process in the garb of democracy. That's still there. That is still a reality that you cannot deny. That is one aspect of life. That means when there are feudalistic processes in the rural part of India at least, and almost everywhere I would say, at different temperatures, but feudalism is burning in the heart of this country. Because in people's minds and hearts, still their commitment to their caste, creed, their family and their larger clan is still bigger than their commitment to the nation itself. So in a way, in the making of this nation, we… see, in 1947 when we got the freedom, at least a large percentage of this country's population was willing to throw their life on the street for the sake of the nation. There was that kind of emotion and fervor. That was the time we should have burned the idea of nation into people's minds and hearts. In a way, we did not do that. So people naturally identified with little things around them which helps them in their survival process. So in the rural scape of India, if you're not identified with, let's say, a dominant caste in the area, well, your well-being is going to be a big question mark. So naturally, I would like to be part of that caste system because that is where my well-being is, that is where my social security is. This is very important. People are always wanting to fight this feudalism for which the basic infrastructure is caste system. People are always wanting to fight caste system. Now you can fight it as much as you want, it will not go unless we create a universal social security system. Right now, if you are living in a village, maybe in urban centers this is gone largely, but if you're living in a village, if you do not belong to any caste, then where is your social security? When tomorrow something goes wrong, who is going to support you, who is going to take care of you? Or if you fall dead tomorrow, who is going to take care of your wife and children? All these issues are there. So, without a universal social security system, caste system will not go because that is the only social security which is reasonably functionable in a functional condition for whole lot of population. So instead of fighting that, we need to bring a social security system where if I fall sick, some institution is going to take care of me. If I fall dead, somebody is going to take care of my family. Something is there, some system. Only then you can dilute the caste system, otherwise people are standing by it because that's the only social security that they have. Having said that feudalism is one aspect, that is not going to go away tomorrow morning because this is thousands of years of system. Unless you bring a better system, the old system won't dissolve by itself. And another problem is, if you dissolve any old system totally, without bringing a strong, new, efficient system, then the chaos that it creates also will create, say, social unrest and variety of problems. So the second problem is what you're saying is different. There are many laws which may not be relevant but still existing because again, I have to go back to 1947, when we just took the laws that the British has made to administer this nation or to be successful in their conquest, they made certain laws. The same laws we just took it on, maybe we were just lazy. We didn't want to sit down and write a whole new law book, so we just took everything as it is. Many things, I must tell you. I was, as a part of our… we have like a program called Inner Freedom for the Imprisoned in all the prisons in southern India and also in Tamil Nadu and in some prisons in United States. We've been doing this. And when I went there one time, 10 days I'm literally in the prison the whole day. They wouldn't let me stay there in the night, so I had to go in the morning, leave in the evening. So there was one guy who was the butt of all jokes out there. Then I asked, why are you guys tormenting this guy like this? And you know what they say, Sadhguru, we did something, okay, we killed somebody, we did this or that, and we are here. You know what this guy did? He tried to commit suicide and he failed, and he's here for 7 years. So, if you attempt to commit suicide, there was a law, just recently, I think a year ago it was repealed. Otherwise, there was a law, you attempted to commit suicide, but you failed. If you succeed, of course, no punishment. If you fail, 7 years imprisonment you could get. If this punishment is for inefficiency, I would agree with that. But a man or a woman commits suicide or attempts to commit suicide because they are driven to such desperation in their life, whatever drove them to such a level of desperation. When a human being is driven to a place where he or she wants to take their life, what is needed is enormous compassion and support, not punishment. But unfortunately, what we had is punishment because it comes from another era. So like this, there are many. I think one of the promises the Prime Minister made in 2014 is that the first thing I'm going to do is take away many archaic laws. I hear that about 1700 laws have been repealed or they're in the process of being repealed. And I would say it should happen with much more vigor. It should happen with much more vigor because our system, administrative system, you guys are on the other side, I don't know how… you are only complaining about it if you feel that way. From our end, it is an obstacle course daily. To get one thing done is such an obstacle course. I'm telling you, something so simple. Some urgent travel we have, we need some VIP coming or we have to fly, we need a helicopter to land. You know how many departments no objection certificate you have to get for a helicopter to land? And it happens to be a Saturday, the collector is not available, you have to run to his house, he's not there, then you run around, he's in a theater with his family, you want to go and tap him on his shoulder and say, sign my paper, my helicopter has to land. What are we doing? The idea of a helicopter is the damn thing can land where you want. That is the idea. For this, so many departments have to give no objection certificate. So all these kinds of archaic laws are there, many. If you are feeling the heat of it, you can imagine how we are feeling about it. It's really hard to get anything done. So this is why, once we have laws like these which are ambiguous and can be interpreted by anybody anyway, too much control, essentially we are not treating ordinary citizens as citizens, we are looking at them as possible criminals and we have to monitor them always. Why can't we instill this sense of nation and pride that this is my country, the laws of this nation I will follow? If you make it very simple, a whole lot of people will do it. I believe at least 70% of the country's population, without deviating from anything, they will follow. Another 20% will do minor deviations. There is only 5 to 10% who are serious deviators. Those people you have to fix them, that's a different matter, okay? But the laws are made in such a way, because they were made by the British, they were looking at every Indian as a thief. I want you to understand, the oath of honor that Indian Army has been taking and still taking, I think I rewrote a new honor code for them, but I don't know if it's been adopted or not. You know what kind of it, I don't remember verbatim, but what it is saying is every soldier, before he is given his, whatever commission, it's not really a commission, officers get commission, what do soldiers get? Before they're inducted into the army, the code of honor they're taking is, I will not do any thievery, I will not lie, I will I'm saying, this is like all Indians were thieves. This is the attitude. For this, the first thing that they're saying, I will not do any thievery, I will respect the officer, I will do this, I'll do… How do you build an army like this? This is an army of slaves. You need to build a sense of pride and patriotism in the heart of a soldier, not a shame that I won't I won't rob anything, I won't steal anything, I won't deceive you, I won't lie to you. This is what the code of honor is. I rewrote the whole thing and gave it, I'm not sure whether they've adopted or not. So I'm saying this attitude has bred laws. Those laws are not for the people. Those laws are for the administrators to keep good control over the people. As you know, Balamurugan, you have served in Tamil Nadu and many other states also have this. Even today, the district administrator is called a collector. What a shame it is. In the British era, the only thing that guy did was collect killing taxes from people. He did nothing else. That was his only job, collect money and send it to England. So even today we have the same nomenclature. So how will things change? Definitely these things have to change. Laws are… many laws are irrelevant and obstructive for proper administration. But at the same time, having said this, as an administrator, as a civil officer, definitely no government or no system wants to give you the position of being a dispenser of justice. You are supposed to just go by the law. Your humanity is fine, but within the framework of law only you can exert your humanity. You cannot go beyond that because you are not an executive. So if the Prime Minister or the head of the government of a state or whatever, if he feels the law is restrictive and his humanity overwhelms that law, then he can make a new law and do that. But you and me have to exert our humanity within the framework of law, because if we weaken that, then we won't have a structure. Everybody's humanity will function in its own way, everybody's morality will function in its own way, and then you won't have a structure. Then this spine will have, disc prolapses will happen.
Thank you very much, Sadhguruji, and thank you for instilling in us that the entire administration must run on the element of trust. In fact, as you mentioned yourself, the new committees that have been set up by the Prime Minister, we've now accepted self-certification in most of the documents, so that itself has been a major change. We are moving in that direction, and as Sadhguruji has pointed out, we must make efforts to get into that direction even faster. I will now be requesting my colleague Vijay Lakshmi Bedari, who's joining us from Bangalore. She works for the ISRO and therefore is a very important institution. So over to you, Vijay Lakshmi, for your conferment with Sadhguruji.
Thank you, sir.
Namaskaram.
Good evening, Guru. Namaskaram.
Again, no virus in the space, you're lucky too.
Yes, Guruji. Most of us in the IAS would like to think that we are giving the best years of our life to the service of the country, and we are working hard to achieve national goals. But there are popular perceptions that people think that once you get into an IAS through an exam, your life is made. But the reality is today, some of the brightest young officers work very far away from their homes, in small towns, in tribal areas, and in remote areas. They have been rendering services in the remotest parts of the country, sometimes even with personal hardships. Even during this fight against the corona pandemic, you have seen that the district collectors and the municipal commissioners have been leading from the front, giving moral support to the frontline workers. They have been implementing the lockdown. They have been coordinating relief. They have been overseeing hospital arrangements. They have been overseeing medical supplies and doing all their best to control the pandemic. Even though the IAS has played a key role in the development of the country since independence, as a service, we have been open to reforms and to change. There have been many of these changes, like the use of e-governance, the use of technology, direct benefit transfers, the RTI, and the opening up of various sectors of the economy. But still, there is a lot of scope to improve the perception about the IAS and generally about the civil services in the country. My question to you, Sadhguru, is what, according to you, are the key expectations of the country from the IAS, especially during these challenging times? Secondly, how do we change the perception about the IAS into a more positive one? Thank you.
Well, I think, yes, as you pointed out, perception is an issue. The perception is not only about the IAS officers. Generally, the perception has become like this, that, oh, government official means they must be corrupt. Government officials means, of course, they don't work. This kind of thing. Well, the same thing is true about the political leadership also. It doesn't matter, without any discrimination. A politician means, oh, he's a horrible character. This kind of attitude has come in the country. This is a certain legacy of a certain level of irresponsibility and I would say lack of integrity also. on the part of certain key elements in the last few decades. Because of that, that image has grown and unfortunately has stayed on. So I feel one of the things that the IAS officers can do is, I don't know if the government allows such a thing, but I feel, I'm sure it should be okay. I feel the IAS officers in the country, I understand you're some 9,000 odd force, isn't it? Am I correct?
Just about 5,800.
Okay. So nearly 6,000 people. It is very important that you should speak to the youth of this nation. You must address universities, you must address colleges, and because, see, if there is no trust between those who administer and those who are being administered, nothing will work properly. It doesn't matter, you may not be doing anything wrong, they may not be doing anything wrong, but still things won't work well. If you look at like a family situation, like a husband and wife or parents and children, it is not necessary somebody must be doing something wrong. Once there is no trust and you believe that person can only do wrong, well, all the wrong things will happen. Not because somebody is doing it, simply because we think so, it will start happening all over the place. So I think it is very vital at this point that this civil services must speak to the youth because there is no trust. Leave the older generation, they have their conclusions, but their conclusions are… can easily be altered because they are only looking at practical solutions for their day-to-day, whatever their businesses or homes or whatever they have. That is not a big issue. The administration, as it gets more and more digitized, I think a whole lot of misconceptions will go at that level. But to create a sense of pride and involvement, that if something is needed, you can go and talk to your administrator and he's always responsive, this kind of feeling has to come, means you must speak. You just sitting in your offices, first of all you must understand people's experience. If you want to see, in almost every government office there are agents, because only only they are capable of getting into the office. Ordinary people are simply incapable of getting into the office and getting something done. This is the experience of people. So one thing is walking down your line of command, down the lane, to see even the last person that if I come into the office, who is the first person I meet? You need to talk to him. I think that guy has not been talked to for a long time. He actually is from the British era, because he looks down on me. If I'm not saying myself personally, anybody goes there, that guy who's the first guy in your office, he looks down on every citizen in India as if he is a Firang and we are some slaves, that's how he looks down. You must fix that guy. You may not be like that, but that first guy, first contact is like that. So everybody wants to enter a government office with an agent. Once an agent comes in, corruption is inevitable. You can't change the image through an agent. That first reception that is there, you have to make sure you fix that guy. Whoever is the front end of your office, that is one thing. Another thing is constantly talking to the youth. Wherever you're working in your city, if there are 10 colleges, once in a way you go there and address them about something, what is administration, also inspire them to aspire for services. That is important because the best talent should come into this making of the nation. I have met many fabulous officers of highest integrity and competence, but still, I'm sorry, don't take me wrong, but I feel they're still not functioning at their best, encumbered by whole system. And I feel one of the reasons is many of them are little hesitant to stamp out what is wrong that is happening around them. They may be right, I may be right, but if I allow people around me to do wrong things, inevitably it'll smear on my face, I can't help it. It is going to happen. So, if you want to change the perception, you must look around and see who is doing what and fix those people, and those people, that simple clerk in the front end of your office may have a mama somewhere. that you can't handle. You know, this is feudalism, I'm saying. Feudalism is not just in the society, it's in the administration also. So that simple clerk, you can't deal with him because his mama is somebody. That is a challenge. If we don't take that challenge, we can't change the perception because that guy will do his own thing. He is there for a different reason. He has no sense of building the nation, this, that, there are no such problems in his head. His problem is his own money and serving the mama. So, these mamas' children who are there, how to deal with them is not always easy, depends on which state you're working in. You're in Karnataka, you're in ISRO, it must be easy to handle mama's children very easily there. I don't think there are mama's children in that organization but generally they are there everywhere else. In some states it's easy to handle them, in some states it's very difficult to handle them because the mama is right up there, okay? So, this is easier said than done, but because you said how to change the perception, if you want to change the perception, the front end, the front face of your office, of your whatever position you hold must become a friendly, nice face. Then the image will change.
Thank you very much, Sadhguruji. I think for all of us who are listening to this, I think two very important signals are there. One, that we must reach out to the youth, and second, we must reach out to our own people who work in our offices and who represent us. So it's not just the collector, but it's the person at the front desk of the collector's office. Sadhguruji will try to adopt this as much as we can. Now let me introduce you to the district magistrate of Kashi. The district magistrate of Varanasi is with us, and the person in the holiest of the holy cities of the country, Shri Kaushal Raj Sharma ji. May I invite you to pose your question to Sadhguruji.
Namaskaram, Sadhguru.
Namaskaram.
Sadhguru, as an organ of administrative system of this country, we IAS officers perform numerous actions. They are decided by political executive as well as decided by ourselves. In almost all of them, the desired output or result is predefined. Also, in most of them, the government of the day and thus the executive want to take credit of the work done for the people. It needs media coverage, positive propaganda, success stories, etc. And through that, we are deeply attached to the results of the actions. Sometimes public criticizes the action and the decisions can be sinful according to the general perception. In the present COVID conditions also, this can be observed clearly. As per the theory of karma, the actions should be performed in a detached manner and they should be without expectation of the fruits of the karma. But what we perform on a regular basis does not seem to be in synchronization with theory of karma. Sadhguru, keeping in view the needs of the service profile, how we can get detached from the karma and the daily life actions and then can move towards life's larger goal of liberation while constantly perform services to the public.
It looks like all of you are experts on the Gita, it's only me who is ignorant. Well, see, in yoga, there is a certain saying. We say that if you set one eye on the goal, you will have only one eye to find your way and you will become inefficient. You must use both your eyes to find your way. And if you go by your yoga, karmasyu, kaushalam, if you go by that, if you have a sense of inclusiveness with people and you act, you're established in yoga and then you act, with using both your eyes, both your hands and everything that you have, doing what you have to do, the results will happen. What a result means is a consequence. The problem with the modern world right now, because of the nature of education that everybody receives, is we are too concerned about the consequence. We always want to fix the consequence. By fixing the consequence, we think then we will act. It will not work like that. you establish in yoga, then you act. How efficiently you will act, what are your capabilities, we do not know. Are all of us equally capable on a given task? Definitely not. Every human being is differently capable for different dimensions of life. So, instead of seeing how to bring out the best, we are thinking how the best should happen in the world. That is not your business. This whole detachment commentary is commentary by other people. Does Krishna look detached? He's absolutely involved. Even in a war that doesn't matter to him, he is absolutely involved. He's not detached. What does detachment mean? That means keeping a distance from things, if that is how we understand. Well, the word detachment can be interpreted in so many ways. I always detest from using that word because people will always understand detachment as keeping everything at an arm's length. This life, if you have to experience this life and if you have to impact this life, the only way you can do it is with enormous involvement. Now the problem is, if your involvement is very discriminatory, your involvement will bring entanglement. When entanglement happens, then naturally you will weave philosophies of detachment. If your involvement is discriminate, entanglement will happen. If your involvement is indiscriminate, then the action itself is a process of liberation. When I say indiscriminate, if your involvement is absolute with everything, right now where you're sitting, where we are here engaged in this, our involvements must be absolute. Not just with this, you're breathing, your involvement must be absolute. I'm telling you, if your involvement with your entire breathing process is absolute right now, you won't need a doctor, you don't need those temperature guns to shoot at your face and say you got temperature, so you may have virus. If you are absolutely involved with your breathing, if there is any difference in that, you will just know. You will just know what's right and what's wrong with this body. So you will know what you have to know with the world and yourself if your involvement is indiscriminate. Right now, people want to involve in a few things that they think are good. They want to involve themselves in few things that they think is theirs and they don't want to involve in the rest. Life will not work like this. Life will happen at its fullest only with absolute involvement, with everything you're involved. Involvement does not necessarily mean compulsive action. See, suppose you're involved, let's say as you sit here, your involvement is absolute with for example, I'm saying, with every human being on this planet. Can you act and do whatever you want to do for all the human beings on this planet? Can you, sir? You cannot. Nobody can, I'm saying. So your involvement is absolute with everything, but your action is only with a few people, not even entire Kashi, only limited aspects of Kashi you can act. You cannot act across the world, you cannot act across the universe, but you can be involved with everything in this universe. So if your involvement is total, whatever action that happens, it will not bring entanglement. When there is no entanglement, where is the fear of attachment? When there is no fear of attachment, where is the need for even to articulate detachment? It's simply meaningless to me. Detachment is totally meaningless to me because I involve myself, I throw myself into everything and everybody's life because there's no fear of entanglement. Why there is no fear of entanglement is because your involvement is indiscriminate. The moment your involvement is discriminate, then everything that you touch will stick to you.
Thank you very much, Sadhguruji, for clarifying something which has been, it's a very important clarification you've given to us about the difference between involvement. We have to be involved, we have to act, and yet we do not have to be entangled. Thank you very much. It was indeed a very, very significant clarification which will help all of us. I'll now be inviting my young colleague Rajesh Lakhani. Rajesh, over to you to ask your question from Sadhguruji.
Namaskaram, Sadhguru.
Namaskaram.
My question is, as administrator, in discharge of our duties, we have to uphold the rule of law. However, many rules aren't black and white, and there are many gray areas with huge scope for interpretation. The challenge lies in deciding what is right and wrong in these areas. Both decisiveness and indecisiveness can be misunderstood by stakeholders. Decisiveness as favoritism and indecisiveness as red tapeism. Sadhguru, what should be the guiding principle in such cases? Inner conviction or minimizing the damage of misunderstanding by stakeholders? Namaskar.
See, when we are given a position where we have the privilege that we could impact millions of people's lives, a privilege like this is not there in everybody's life. Now, when I say impacting millions of lives, let's understand this. There are only two things human aspiration is playing between. Right now, let us say somebody builds a family, somebody goes to the temple, somebody meditates, somebody drinks alcohol, somebody takes a drug, somebody indulges in so many things. What is the effort? Whether a man is going to the temple or to the bar, what is the effort? The effort is, right now the way I'm experiencing my life is not enough. I want my life's experience to become little more profound. Yes or no? This may sound like an extreme example for a lot of people, but I'm telling you, the man who is seeking God and the man who is drugging himself are seeking more profound experience of life. Where it will lead them, the path is another matter, but the aspiration is same, isn't it? So on one level, when it comes to within ourselves, we want a more profound experience of life. Not everybody may actually articulate it in their mind, but every human being always is looking for somehow enhancing the experience of his life. Somebody thinks it'll happen because of drink, somebody thinks it'll happen because of money, somebody thinks it'll happen because of God's grace. It doesn't matter what the currency is, essentially they want their experience of life to become more profound and more pleasant than the way it is right now. But when it comes to activity, because activity is a consequence of one's pleasantness or one's compulsion. Right now, a whole lot of people may be active in the world for their own survival process because they have to eat, they have to pay the bills, they have to go about their business. Most of the people may be working like that, but all of you are saying you are in the process of nation building, so I will take that segment. Well, you want to build the nation, what does it mean? It means you want your life to be impactful. These are the only two things human beings are looking for: profoundness of experience, impact in action, isn't it?
Yes.
Somebody has chosen his area or his field of action just as his family. Why? Because in this little world of his, he can be impactful. Suppose, see how deeply people are hurt. Where they went home, whether you're a man or a woman, you went home, people at home are not impressed by you being there. Whatever you do, they are not impressed. People will break down, isn't it? Because they built this little world of theirs, because they want to be impactful there. If nobody is impressed, you cook something, nobody is impressed, you create something, nobody is impressed, finish, that family is over. So you are choosing a small footprint to be impactful. So profoundness and pleasantness of experience and impact in activity are the only two things human beings are looking for. They may call it their religion, they may call it their spirituality, they may call it administrative service, they may call it their pleasure. It doesn't matter what they call it, this is all human beings are looking for. So now you're talking about how your impactfulness is impeded by ambiguity of laws. I thought ambiguity of laws is a problem for us who are administered, not for you, because it's to your advantage. You can make it whichever way you want. If you hold everybody that you administer as a part of yourself, The ambiguity of law gives you a whole latitude to do, like they asked the question in the beginning, should I go by my humanity or by the law? That problem is over for you, because the law is not such a checkered box anymore. It is little more open, you can do what you want. So please tell all of them where is the ambiguity so that they can express their humanity. It is a great advantage for an officer when there is ambiguity. Ambiguity causes trouble to us because we are not able to figure out what is the law. Every time we go to different people, everybody interprets it in different ways. We are in a confused state because of ambiguity. But for you, for an administrator of any kind, it is always an advantage if there is ambiguity of law. But of course, there will be problems, this and that. So they are trying to fix the ambiguity to some extent. Well, that's not going to go away overnight. But what should be the priority? Should I do what is nice for everybody? Should I do what is safe for me, or should I do what matters? Well, we already went through this. In your life, really what matters is, when you are spending 25, 30 years of life on something, whatever that is, well, it must be impactful, isn't it? Impactfulness may not always be very popular. Sometimes it'll be very celebrated, sometimes it'll not even be appreciated, it'll take many years for people to appreciate that. But that's not your concern. Your concern is, you must be impactful, because that is the only essence of activity. Action we are performing because we want to be impactful. Impactful, well, people can be impactful by killing 1,000 people tomorrow morning, but that is not the impact. Because we see, because when people fail to impact people positively, they will take to these ways. Like, let us say, the revolutionaries of the world. Armed revolutions have been there in this world for the last 200 years, many armed revolutions have happened. Some leftovers are still there in our country, still carrying on. Now, what is the thing behind this destructive process is, they have an ideal. They want to create that because they want to make an impact on the society in which they live or the country in which they live. But because they're incapable of doing that, now they think they have to break it. So that is a childish reaction to your own incompetence or your inability to bring forces together. Because when you want to have impact, you yourself can't go and stamp your footprint on the moon. If you have to go to the moon, how much support is needed? Maybe only one man landed on the moon, but how many thousands and thousands of people worked to put that man on the moon, isn't it? So, impact is not going to happen. Real impact you cannot create in your life unless you harness everybody's forces into it. That is very important. If you cannot get everybody together, it doesn't matter how brilliant you think you are, it's not going to get you very far. How powerful you are, how brilliant you are, it won't get you very far. When you really want to make impact in the social scene or in the national scene, you must be able to harness everybody. When you try to harness everybody, there will be… if there are 1,000 people, they will have 10,000 opinions, especially in this country, you know. So how are you going to do this? Is it a compromise? Don't see it like this, don't look at life this way, that this is right, this is wrong, this is black, this is white. That's not how it is. The thing is, to create a positive impact, what do we have to do? Whatever it takes, we must do. Because after all, you are appointed there for the well-being of the people in the end. That's all it is, isn't it? Our fundamental business is human well-being. So when our fundamental business is human well-being, we have no right to hang on to our own lofty ideals, morals, philosophies and think, this is the right thing to do, that's the right thing to do. That's not the point. The right thing to do is what is best for all the people that we administer. What is best for them today and for them tomorrow. If you do something that's best for them tomorrow, many of them may not have the vision to see what you have done. You may become unpopular, but still, if you are 100% clear, what you're doing right now is going to be really good for all these people tomorrow, you must do that. Most great things that have been done on this planet have been only appreciated after people are gone, isn't it? That's the nature of greatness, that it doesn't happen when you're living, it's only after you're gone people think you're fantastic. It's okay, that is their limitation, but in your life, the important thing is action is about impact. Your life is about profoundness of experience. It's my wish and my blessing, you must have both.
Thank you very much,
Thank you,
Sadhguru,
Sadhguruji.
because especially for those of us who are in the IAS, impact is the most important thing, and you laid the path very clearly that our actions must have impact. And I'm sure Rajesh is now much clearer in his thoughts. We now bring to you Sadhguruji Amit Ghosh, popularly called Dada Ghosh by one and all, because he's the real Dada of the batch. Literally and metaphorically, he's also the secretary of our association. So may I request you, Dada, to pose your question to Sadhguruji.
Namaskaram, Sadhguruji.
Namaskaram. When he said Dada, he said like this, I don't know what that means, nobody can fight with a Bengali, is that it? He said like this, Dada.
Sadhguruji, I need your blessings, that's all I can do. Sadhguru, you just spoke about something which was also highlighted by Dr. Sanjeev Chopra. You spoke about enhancing the experience of life. And you said that it is all about making it more and more profound and more pleasant. And you said that, about the impact, having a positive impact. So Sadhguru, with your permission, you have said earlier that without addressing individual consciousness, we cannot comprehensively resolve our socio-economic problems or geopolitical issues at any level, whether local, national, or global. Sadhguru, the working of the government is such that while we do have programs and policies for society and stakeholders, we do not seem to have ways to address individual consciousness of people who work within the government as well as people who get impacted by our decisions. Sadhguru, how do you think this can be built into the working of the government, of course, among the members of the IAS? And why is it important to address individual consciousness for good governance?
See, there is only one problem on this planet, only one. That's the human being. Have you seen any other problem on this planet, I'm asking? Have you seen any other problem on this planet? Only human being, isn't it? So the only solution to this is raising the human being to another level of function and experience. If human beings thought, felt and acted differently, they would become the greatest solution. But right now, the way they're thinking, feeling and acting is a massive problem. Whether it's ecological problems, social problems, even now we are going through this virus situation. See, virus doesn't have even a brain of its own, all right? It's not even… you cannot even consider that as a living thing fully. It is just a bundle of chemicals with a little bit of genetic proteins in it, which has its own tendencies and it can multiply, but it cannot eat food, it cannot, between two of them reproduce, there is no such capability. It's not really a full-fledged life, just a fragment of life, okay? Such a thing has brought the humanity to its knees across the world, destroying our economies, destroying our social fabric, everything. Right now, there's a lot of talk around the world. There's such a large scientific community, there is a medical community. You are in a position of, you are in a place where you hear things. Have you heard any one clear statement that this is the solution for this virus? No. Have you heard? Everybody talks about a vaccine. How can you produce a vaccine for something whose nature you do not know yet? You cannot. So at least we must have a treatment protocol. Okay, if I get the virus, what is the protocol? We still don't have that. Somebody says, take hydrochloroquine, somebody says drink Lysol, somebody says take this, take that. All kinds of quack solutions are all over the place. But we do not know what it is. But we know one thing, we are the carriers of the virus. It is not some mice or mosquito or something that we cannot control, not even the bat, it's us. If all of us as human beings, suppose we were a conscious human society and either you or me or somebody said, see, all we have to do is 15 days, sit by yourself, just do whatever, if you want to meditate, do whatever. Even meditation is not necessary, do whatever. Do not touch another human being for 15 days. Don't go close to anybody, nothing, just sit at home or sit wherever you want, on a mountain top if you wish. Finished, the virus is over, in 14 days it finishes itself, all right? Does it look like a very simple problem? It's very, very simple if all human beings were conscious. But right now, human beings are so compulsive. They're so compulsive, in the middle of this, when hundreds of thousands of people are dying, somebody wants a haircut. How can I live without a haircut? Somebody wants to drink alcohol, all right? You saw what happened with the alcohol vents opening up. People went crazy. Now they're all quiet because it seems home delivery is happening. We have made a whole policy change with this virus about alcohol. So, we're in compulsive states. Because of that, every simple thing is such a big problem. If only if you were conscious, if all of us simply sat where we are, next 15 days, finished, virus is over across the world. So, without transforming an individual human being, transforming a society or a nation or the world doesn't arise because these are all just words. Where is society? Where is the world? There is no such thing. There is just you and me, isn't it? The real thing is individual human beings. Rest are just words that we use to describe some collective aspect of human beings. But the real thing is you as a human being, me as a human being and others as human beings. If we were conscious, how would we behave? If we are unconscious, how we behave? If we are compulsive, how we behave, are different dimensions of life. So without without raising individual human beings to a higher level of existence, you cannot have a better society or a better nation, there is no such thing. You can control anything from outside as much as you want, but the moment nobody is watching their own thing, only if they're fixed inside by their own nature, then they will be… That's why they gave you this yoga karmasyu kaushalam. It's a very wonderful thought that whoever put this there. They didn't tell you honor, discipline, this, that, they told you yoga karmasyu kaushalam. You just fix this one thing, rest will happen. To what extent? To the best possible extent, that's all. There is no the best in our life. The best that I can do is all there is. What is the best? Nobody knows what is the best, there is no such thing. However well you do your life, still there is a better way to do it, yes or no? Hello? There is no perfect way to do this life. You do this life really fantastic, but still there is a better way to do it. That is the nature of life, that is what is so fantastic about life. Otherwise, by halfway down our life, we would all want to kill ourselves because we are already perfect. Most people become perfect by the time they're 30. So once they're 30, there is no reason to live for them. Only because there is a possibility, it doesn't matter what you have done, still there is a way to do it better and better in many, many different ways. This life matters. This it can only be addressed to an individual human being. Can the government do that? That is an unrealistic expectation, that a civil administrator like you or a political leader can address individual well-being within themselves. No, that is not a possibility. That is why we are there, all right? But till now, till recently, nation has treated us as pariahs, really. I'm telling you this, because in every way, this country has rejected its own fundamental strength because the fundamental USP of this nation is its spiritual nature. Somewhere, We got all this mixed up. We did not understand what is spiritual nature, what is religious belief. Let me make, in few words, let me make a simple distinction between what is religion and what is spiritual process. Spiritual process means it is a seeking. You want to know. When would you want to know? Only if you realize that you do not know. When you see, I do not know, the longing to know will rise within you. This is a simple wisdom, that if you peel your eyes and look around, you don't know a damn thing about anything. Yes or no? If you look at a leaf for the rest of your life, you still will not understand this leaf, what it is made of. You cannot create another leaf just like that in your laboratory or wherever, because for a lifetime if you sit there with all your science, still you won't be able to do it. That's how complex creation is. Well, we don't know where we come from, where we will go, what it is, but we go around as if everything is known. So, spiritual process will happen because we have realized the magnitude of our ignorance. In yoga, always we identify with our ignorance because our knowledge is so minuscule. If you have read the libraries of this planet, still what you know is a speck in this cosmic space, isn't it? I'm asking the opinion of ISRO. Whatever we may know, whatever we think is a grand thing that we know, is just a tiny speck in this universe. So what we know is so small, but our ignorance is boundless. So we always identify with our ignorance because it makes you boundless. If you identify with your knowledge, you become a minuscule. You become a small, petty existence. If you identify with your ignorance, you become a boundless existence. So yoga always identifies with its ignorance. If you're identified with your ignorance, you're constantly expanding. But what religion means is, everything is absolute. We know exactly what happened. When God created this planet, in how many days, how He did it, what He did, where He is, what He likes for His birthday, we know it all. And everything is in one book. This is religion. That means you have to believe. Belief means you are trying to make something that you do not know into absolute knowledge. When you create absolutes out of nothing, you will have confidence, but no clarity. Confidence without clarity is a disastrous process. That is the disaster you're seeing. Because of this, whatever resistance that certain Western cultures developed because of very dogmatic religious processes, they thought, science if it has to grow, religion must be killed. They are not very wrong about it, but spiritual process is an inquiry. It is a constant process of growth. This nation, in this nation we must understand this, that this is a godless country. I'm saying this very consciously. The people that you worship in this land are people who walked this geography at some time, isn't it? Your Rama, Krishna, Shiva, everybody walked this land at some point of time. He is from Kashi, Shiva lived there. Well, Rama definitely walked this land because he had his real estate problems till recently. Those who live in heaven won't have real estate issues, right? Only those who lived with us will have real estate issues. So these are people who walk this land because they lived in such a way, in an exalted way, we say, oh, they're godlike. Today people are saying Tendulkar is cricketing god. Not very wrong, it's very much part of this culture. Because if a human being excels beyond what we think is normal, we say he's a deva. He is worship-worthy. Somebody transcends the limitations that nature has set upon you or we believed has set upon you, then we say that person is worship-worthy and we worship those people. But there is no the God, because the fundamental aspiration of this entire culture is about mukti. Mukti means freedom or liberation. The fundamental aspiration is not God, not heaven, not the pleasures of heaven, but mukti, freedom from heaven also. Because heaven is a honey trap. If you don't have something in your life, it looks like a great thing. The moment you go there, see, it's like this. Right now, wherever you are, suppose you can't leave that place, this room in which you are, you try to open that door, it's locked from outside. Will you feel imprisoned or no? Definitely, isn't it? However big, let's say you're in a palace right now, but it's locked from outside. Will you feel imprisoned, though it is a palace? Similarly, everybody talked about going to heaven in the world, but they didn't tell you you can't get out of it. It's a prison, all right, it's a trap. You get into some place, it doesn't matter how good it is, but if you cannot get out, it is a trap, isn't it? So, I call heaven as a honey trap. People have been trying to trap you in that, but here in this culture, knowing this, we always said the only goal of your life is mukti. Liberation or freedom is the highest goal in your life, to become free. What does freedom mean? Is it something of the future? No. Right now, you're doing your work as an administrator, you live in a family. All this must be stepping stones for your liberation. Because you created these things because you have side needs. You have physical needs, emotional needs, psychological needs, social needs, economic needs, variety of needs. So to fulfill these needs, you created certain activity. That activity you should do to the best possible extent you can, but it should never entangle you. If it entangles you, then the fundamental purpose is gone. Otherwise, see, today because of English education, these things are gone. Otherwise, in the previous generation, my mother or her mother, if they sit down, stand up, they would say karma, prarabdha, mukti, moksha, these are like every day, it's not spiritual talk. Daily conversation never happened without these words, because the focus of the entire culture was towards freedom. Now, because of this misunderstanding, the immense knowledge that we have about the inner mechanics of a human being in this country has been ignored. It's only now the nation is talking about yoga, Prime Minister is doing yoga with common people, today we have International Yoga Day. All this is only in the last few years. Otherwise, if you say yoga in the 80s, 90s, you think anybody heard you? Because I have been talking yoga since 1982, endlessly I'm talking about yoga. You think anybody heard, outside the country, yes, they've been listening to us. In the country, individual people, yes, but in the government, in the administration, anybody, you think they would entertain you for anything? No, absolutely, doors closed, absolutely closed, it never opened. Only now, even your DOPT is coming to us now for training, this is needed, because this cannot be done by the government. This part of individual development, of creating mechanisms for which will lead to enhancement of the individual human being is not government's work, is not administration's work, is not political work. It is something else. That dimension was very well established in this country, though it has been seriously dislocated with 800, 900 years of invasions, very cruel invasions and occupation for almost 250 years. In spite of that, in terms of knowing human mechanism in its full profoundness, I'm not saying this with my nationalistic prejudice. I've looked around the world, all the cultures, no culture has looked at the inner mechanism of the human being with the depth and dimension the way we have looked at it here in this culture. The government, the people, the administration must make use of this. We are glad at least now there is an Ayush ministry, at least there is an effort, and there is a yoga day, and the Prime Minister is pushing yoga as one of the main agendas. United Nations is using this as part of fulfilling its 2020 goals that were there. It is being used, which is a wonderful step for the world. Rest of the world has taken it up. Indian administration needs to take it up big time, I'm telling you. when I was at the World Economic Forum, the leaders in that place, they asked me, Sadhguru, if there's one thing we can do for you, which will transform this world, what is that? I said, give me 25 people for 5 days. In 2 to 3 years, you will see significant transformation on this planet. They asked, who are they? I named 25 heads of 25 most important or powerful nations in the world. I said, give them to me. Everything will be transformed in 2 to 5 years, because for the first time in the history of humanity, we are growing more food than the population can eat, but still 1/3 of the population is hungry, okay? We have technologies, resources, capabilities, knowledge, everything in place. Only thing that is not in place is an inclusive human consciousness is missing. If these 25 people who control more than 80% of the world's resources, if their mind changes even 10%, I'm saying, their way of thinking and feeling and experiencing life changes 10%, world will be transformed. About nearly 20 years ago, someone came here, someone of some significance, they were going through our inner engineering program. They asked, Sadhguru, this is fantastic, tell me, but what about India? What about the nation? What can we do? I said, see, I will give you a list of 2,000 people. Out of the 2,000 people, you get them to me in the next 2 to 3 years' time, a silent revolution will happen. Revolution means people think you must throw stones at somebody. Of course, in India, revolution means you must burn a bus or you must kill somebody. No, I want you to change is not a revolution. I'm willing to change is a tremendous revolution. This is a revolution we need. I want you to change is a problem. This is the same old classic problem of mother-in-law wants daughter-in-law to change, daughter-in-law wants mother-in-law to change. It is always a problem. I want you to change is always a problem. I am willing to change is what is needed. So if this has to happen, we need a movement like this. And in that effort in the last 20 years, well, we have touched a significant… When I gave this list of 2,000 people, it included people in the administration, because I'm not looking at political leadership, because they come and go, their shelf life is only 5 or 10 years. But you guys are there 25, 30 years, business leaders are there 25, 30 years, and social leaders are there who are 25, 30 years. These are the people I'm interested in. If those people who are significant roles they are holding for 25 years of their life, if they can't make a difference, who can make a difference in a country? If your minds and your hearts experientially, not intellectually, experientially if it changes 10%, the way you experience life, I'm telling you there'll be a significant difference in the world, for sure. In this country, definitely. And that is, in a way, for the first time, the tools for self-transformation are… the doors are being opened by the administration for the first time. In the last 75 years, it's only in the last 5 years, some little opening has happened, much more needs to happen.
Thank you very much, Sadhguruji, on behalf of all of us. When I speak for all the officers in the country and their families who have also joined us in this absolutely scintillating and remarkable conversation. Thank you so much, Sadhguruji, for telling us, especially the difference between being spiritual in the quest for mukti, understanding, and how different it is from the conventional religion that we've always thought, and that all change must come from within. Thank you very much, Sadhguruji. On behalf of all of us, may I request everyone to give a namaskar to Sadhguruji. And on behalf of all of us, I am formally presenting you a little souvenir and a little book called Karmasu Kaushalam, or Excellence in Action. This is the coffee table book which the Academy brought out on its 60th year, on the Diamond Jubilee. Last year we brought it out. I'll be sending it over to you by courier, and please accept.
Oh, I thought you were going to just show it to me. I thought it's a virtual gift.
No. And for thing I must say, Sadhguruji, your humor and your sense of joy is so infectious. It's absolutely wonderful. Thank you very much. It's been an honor for us. On behalf of all of us in the ICT Association, we are very, very grateful to you. And my request is to Isha Foundation that this should not be a one-off activity. Whenever, if you have the time, we would love to engage with you every now and then, maybe once a quarter, maybe once every 6 months, because right now I have about 24 questions with me from the audience, including from Usha Fadi, who handles the helicopters in the country, and I'm sure she'll give you a solution to the helicopter landing. But I couldn't take a question because of paucity of time. Thank you very much, Sadhguruji. Pranam. Naman.
Thank you, and I would like to convey my congratulations because right now I'm seeing, at least around me, I know there are complaints here and there, but largely the administrative services, not just the IAS officers, I have never seen this level of commitment even from a village level officer that I'm seeing, even a village accountant, how he's functioning, the local police, how they're functioning, all of you, how you're functioning in these virus times is exemplary and fantastic. Congratulations for that, my blessings for you to have the necessary strength and determination to keep this on because this virus could be a long haul and the spine must be strong. India's spine must be strong, you being the many pieces of India's spine. See, this is the wonderful thing about the spine. It is… the creation could have made it into a solid piece of steel, but it is many pieces of small bones, very fragile-looking bones put together to perform such a significant task of giving us a form of who we are. So, my congratulations and my best wishes and blessings for all of you to be able to hold up the spine of India so that it can stand up to this challenging times and come out victorious in this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Namaskaram, Sadhguru.
Namaskaram.
Namaste.
Namaskaram, Sadhguru.